And first of all, I want to thank Al Ayman, the best manager in the world.
He's the fucking champion of the world!
Adonis Stevenson, piece of shit.
No, I think Rosado, good boy. Rosado is a good boy.
I've become a massive international superstar, it's as simple as that.
I eat your asshole alive, you bitch. Scared of the real man. I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot.
I'm going to physically shoot David Hay. He fucking glassed me. He glassed me. Derek, cool down.
Welcome everyone to the special edition of the Boxing Salem Nut House podcast. It is the Carol Froch, he's the champion, George Groves special podcast this week. Tomorrow we will be holding our normal show, which will be discussing the undercard of tonight's fights at Wembley. The fight last night between Povetkin and Manuel Char, Sturm against Solomon, and hopefully the fight from Mexico, which will be Rungivieze against Kudras. But tonight is all about the one fight, the biggest fight of so far of 2014. Carol Froch defending his WBA, IBF super middleweight titles against his hated rival George Groves in front of what was estimated to be the biggest outdoor crowd for a British boxing event, in front of 80,000 fans at Wembley Stadium in London. To be honest, I said that, Kurt, I'll go to you first, mate, because I think you and I and Tommy spoke after I was speaking to Shannon Briggs on Friday night. I said I felt it could be pretty much of a shit fight. I wouldn't say it was shit. It was very, very technical from the offset. It was very, very tight, some of those rounds. Personally speaking, I had, at the time of the stoppage, which was brutal, I had George goes up by a point. Somehow Jim Watt managed to find himself to see that, you know, Froch is up by 4 points. I can't see that in some way. I'll probably need to go back and watch the fight to try and see it. You know, a very, very technical fight. Very, very brutal stoppage. You know, in the day is, you know, Froch seemed to faint with the jab, and he came in with the left hook, and bang, straight with the right hand. It's at the same time as well. You know, as Groves was thrown with the left hook, I just don't think he saw the right hand coming in behind Froch's flicking left jab at the same time. You know, you got to hand it to Froch though. At the same time, as it was a brutal finish, and what he was robbed of in the first fight. You know, you could say that Froch was robbed of the stoppage in the first fight. Groves was robbed of the chance to fight himself back into it. But at the same time, as we got an emphatic finish, there is no excuses at the end of the day.
No, I mean, Froch has set the record straight, but, you know, I thought the commentary, you know, I know I'm called a Carl Froch hater, but all that aside, you know, and I'm going to give him all the credit in the world in a minute, but I think the commentary from Halling and Watt was diabolical, to be honest. They seemed to have an agenda from the very start. They were giving Froch every bit of praise, every bit of credit they could, despite him, you know, not really doing anything at that time. I mean, he was having little bits of success, he was getting in close, roughing up like he does. But, you know, Groves, you know, he was looking like he was going for a points win. I thought he'd be like he was last time and go for the stoppage, but he was clearly going for the points win. He was using his jab. You know, he was more tentative because Froch's jab was working a lot better as well. But, I mean, at the time, got into the last round, I had Groves in front by 1 point. I got no problem with people saying it was close or having Froch in front. But I think Watt had it, I don't know, about 4 or 5 rounds for Froch. I just think...
Yeah, that's a fucking joke.
That's crazy. And, I mean, I thought Groves was definitely the one winning. I mean, I'm not saying he was dominant or he was totally in charge, but I thought he was winning the boxing match because he's the better boxer. But, you know, like I said, I mean, I didn't think Froch would win this fight. I thought he was done, and, you know, he pulled it out with a fantastic shot. I mean, he threw that left hook and got Groves to turn right into the right hand, and he was totally out. I mean, I know he did try and get up, but you could see about 2 or 3 minutes after the fight had ended, he tried to stand up off his stool, and his legs were totally gone. I mean, and Froch himself said, the fight was dead even at the time, and he managed to land the big punch. And I've got to say, we've talked a lot of shit about Carl Froch for his ego and the way, not for what he's done in the ring, but for his outside stuff. And but full credit to him, after that fight, he conducted himself like a true champion. He gave credit, and I'm happy to eat crow tonight because Carl Froch, he pulled out the bag, and again, he's got one over on people who've discounted him again.
Just before I go on to Alex Morris and Matty D, who is also on the panel with us tonight,
hey everyone!
Say again, mate. 2 seconds, mate. Just before
hey everyone!
Just before we get you on, that's what I want to mention to our listeners. If you want to have your say, it doesn't matter if you're full of the sniff, or the Billy Whiz, or if you're on the MCAT, or if you're depressed, if you're taking some marijuana or some Valium or some Dunters or some Blues or whatever you want to call it, we want to hear from you. Just add Box Selling Pod on Skype and we'll get you on. You have your say. Matty D, you're making your return, mate. You said it was pretty close on your card, mate. Jim Watt had it 4. I think he had it 4 or 5 points at one point. I think it was 4 points. Pretty disgraceful scorecard. But at the end of the day, full credit to Carl Froch. He silenced the doubters once again.
Well, he absolutely did. And let's just say off the bat, I mean, everybody knows that's a boxing fan that's watched the stream or watched live in the UK. We all know that Jim Watt is a dickhead, and you got to take his cards with a grain of salt. A lot of the time, I think he's a company man, but that much aside. It was close. I had the first round even, next 3 to Groves, next 2 to Froch. Groves clearly won the 7th, and then boom, it's over with. Carl Froch is an incredible fighter in the sense that he's one of those guys that has that intangible quality to him that allows him to fight above his actual abilities. He essentially, he goes out there and he just outmans his opponents a lot of the time. I mean, how many people has he faced that technically are better than him, have much better skill than him, but for whatever reason they can't beat Carl Froch? It's just because he's a tough son of a bitch that has so much belief in himself that he refuses to lose. As was proven, you really have to knock him out to beat him, essentially, or find a way to get him going backwards. It doesn't happen very often. Before everyone starts saying, well, maybe Groves wasn't that good, and Froch, he just had an off night, and then he ended up taking care of business. No, Groves is that good. I honestly think George Groves is in the top 5 super middleweights in the world. We cannot dismiss this victory as shit now that it's over with and it was a conclusive knockout. We have to really put this on Froch's resume and understand that this man has built a Hall of Fame resume. He is the most unheralded champion of his time because in his homeland it took him so long to be able to get respect because of the way he used to talk about Joe Calzaghe. But you have a guy in front of you now who is a clear number 2 in a division, behind a guy who, if he could get the fights and could get some semblance of a contract going in Andre Ward, that could be a top 50 all-time great fighter. There's no shame in that at all. So I hope this is finally the last nail in the coffin of people shitting on Carl Froch and thinking that he's less than what he is, because the fact of the matter is, look at some of the things he does. He's technically incapable of throwing a straight punch except for a very rare occasion. Ask George Groves. That's the straightest punch I've ever seen Carl Froch throw since I've been watching him fight. But he is better than the sum of his parts, and there's very few fighters that you can say that about.
Yeah, I mean, you don't win world silver medals in amateurs if you don't have some sort of technical ability about you. But at the same time, as Froch, as you said, Matty Froch did admit tonight that Groves was far quicker than him, even to the jab at points. Alex, how did you have the fight scored at the time of stoppage? And to be honest, mate, you're eating a wee bit of crow tonight as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out where I begin with this. Obviously, I got it completely wrong. I thought Groves would bomb him out of there in 6 rounds. But I thought, obviously, it was a very good chess match to begin with. It was very tactical. I thought Groves was winning the better of the exchanges earlier on with the jab. I think he was trying to conserve energy going into the later rounds where he knew Carl would be a a bigger force, and using his strength a lot more. And you could see that he was starting to open up a bit more around the 6th and the 7th round, and that obviously culminated in the 8th round. But I had him up by about a point or two going into the 8th round. It was a tactical fight, and I think it was a good fight because we were all sort of nervous for it. We were all interested in how it would develop, and I think both men were taking some really big shots in the lead up to that 8th round, and both were sort of vulnerable to those shots. But it proved that Carl Froch went in there with a completely different plan than I think a lot of us thought, and so did George Groves. Carl Froch fought behind his jab. He was a lot more patient. He didn't just try and wail in there like he did the first time, and get caught out for it. He was a lot more conscientious about things, and that ultimately led him to timing that absolutely brutal knockout in the 8th round. And it was an excellent knockout. I think no one can take that away from him. No one can say if Groves was up at this point, Groves was out boxing. No, it doesn't matter. This is boxing. He got knocked the fuck out, and he got folded like a deck chair. All the sort of hyperbole and superlatives you want to apply to it. Groves just got knocked out, and he was no way he was going to continue that. And I think all credit to Carl Froch. He pulls it out of the bag. He always does it. He always finds these wins somehow when he probably shouldn't find these wins. I mentioned briefly some of this fight might come down to the intangibles, the things that you can't really rate. You can rate someone's speed, you can rate someone's power or boxing ability, but Carl Froch has got all these, extra abilities, that extra grit, that sort of just finding a way to get the win, and that's what he did tonight, I think.
10-pound testicles, man. That's the intangible right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone can deny that Carl Froch always hangs his balls out in the line. I mean, I think that's been testament throughout his career. I mean, I've watched Froch. I mean, I think I need to go back to the time he won the silver medal, but I haven't watched all his fights as a pro. I watched the fight against Brian McGee. It was a very, very tough fight as well. It was, again he showed, his punching power. He hasn't. I wouldn't say he's got that one stop. Although tonight, that punch tonight was fantastic. It didn't really matter. I mean, you could say that Groves turned into that shot, but that right hand just came right through. Anyone, I don't care if you're a trained fighter or not, you throw a punch like that, you're going to knock someone out. Groves you could have counted Groves to like 20, 25, 30. There was no chance he was going to get up. It was the best call by the referee. There was no point making the count for George Groves there. But
I
at
thought
the
he
same
was
time,
concussed, to be honest. I thought he might have been concussed because the way he had his sort of arm stuck out a little bit, and he was just sort of stumbling all over the place. I thought, he's just completely fucked there. And if that referee went, let that go on because of the controversy in the first fight, then it would have been absolutely criminal. He would have been completely fucked over.
Well, it was the best punch of Froch's career, and not only because of the significance of it, but it was the best timed punch I've ever seen him throw. It was the straightest right hand I've ever seen him throw. It was perfect. It was everything that Carl Froch had ever wanted to do happened in that punch. He showed the technical ability that we think that he lacks. He showed that he can time a fighter really well. He showed he can punch hard, and he did it in front of 80,000 people. What was he always chasing with Calzaghe? The stadium show, and he got it.
That is the point as well, as Froch has always went on about the fact that he's got this punching power. I would like to go back to the fact as, okay, the sense of the occasion, 80,000 fans, Wembley Stadium, the grudge match, he pulled it off. It was a career-defining victory. But at the same time as well, I like to go back to the fact as he was getting beat and handled against Jermaine Taylor, and he came back in the 12th round, and just bludgeoned them basically almost to death. I always think that was Froch's career-defining fight, in my honest opinion anyway.
I'm going back to England, Mom, and I'm bringing my title with me. Yeah, we all remember it.
That's one of Gus Johnson's best quirks actually in Showtime history, I think. Although I'm a big fan of his, It
was the only time it worked for him. His level of excitement is just totally nonsensical at times, which is why I'm glad he's off Showtime. But at that moment, yeah, it worked perfectly. But other than that, he was just pissed.
One person I think who deserves credit tonight, actually, and I know we're speaking solely on the fighters. I think Robert McCracken needs to get a big pat on the back. You know, I've been watching quite a lot of the build up, etc. You know, as because I'm in the UK, obviously, but listening to what Robert McCracken's been saying, and I've got a lot of time for Robert McCracken. I've listened to a lot of what he's got to say in the past. You know, this is a guy who's came in for a lot of criticism for not picking Amir Khan's brother for the Commonwealth squad to go to the last Commonwealth Games in India, who Harun Khan eventually won I think it was a bronze medal for Pakistan. You know, he was shunned by the England team. But what has Harun Khan done since then? So you maybe think that maybe McCracken was actually good in what he said beforehand. Kasim, can you mute your mic, mate, please?
That's Tony.
Tony, mate, sorry. So I think McCracken, just listen to what he said beforehand, and his spar against Chris Eubank Jr. as he was telling him, what to do. Don't overcommit. Don't come in with the right hand, because sometimes Froch has got this tendency sometimes to kind of come in with the right hand from distance rather than set it up. He seems to kind of come back off it and just kind of come in straight. If he's getting tagged, he maybe just leads straight in with the straight right hand, and he can get picked off. Tonight he wasn't really doing that. He's been more patient, getting the jab going at the same time. But on the line at the minute, Tony Harper, who was one of our best callers last week. Mate, how did you have the fight scored at the point of the stoppage?
Can you hear me, guys?
I can hear you, mate. Yeah, fire away.
I come on last week. I said to you, didn't I, that I would like Groves to win, but I thought Froch would. Well, the first couple of it was very cagey, wasn't it? The first couple of rounds, no one sort of dominated. It was very cagey.
No commitment there, was there?
No one sort of like went for it. It was just one of them fights that you sit back afterwards and you think, well, how do the judges score this? Do they in the end, if someone takes over, do they think, we give him round 1 and 2? Do you know what I mean? Because they're so close. No one, they're both sort of like just flicking out the jab. No one really landed any major shots. So they were very hard to tell. But I think I looked after 4 rounds and, I don't know if you've said it so far, but I mean, the commentary, they was just so over the top in Carl's favour. It was all, they was going on about his jab, but I think it was in round 4, George landed 2 left-right combinations, and then he landed another right hand after that. And all Carl had done is sort of like flick out his jab. So I thought that was a Groves round. But, all in and what, we're going, Carl jab. So I didn't know how to have it, really. I mean, I see Dave was going on like Carl's won every round. I looked on Twitter and people were saying 4-0 Groves. So I didn't know how to. Carl definitely won 5 when he sort of like he caught him a couple of times, and then 6. And that's, I mean, as I said before, I'm not his greatest fan based on his personality. Nothing but respect for him, for the fights that he's took. He has been a warrior. He's not the best boxer, but it's not about liking the best boxer. Otherwise, Rigondeaux would have fights, wouldn't he?
That's true, mate. I mean, I'm just going to read out my scorecard to the fans. I'm going to go to Kasim next, actually, at JDella19. The first 2 rounds I gave to Groves. Round 3 I gave to Froch. Round 4, Groves. 5th and 6th rounds to Carol Froch. And then I gave the 7th to George Groves. During that 8th round, actually, it's my wife's birthday today. We're away out having a few swallies. I'm slightly pissed, actually. Not factually what happened during the fight, just kind of literally, I'm a wee bit drunk. I've got the whiskey here, I've got a few bottles of beer sitting around about me. Kasim, I personally felt, mate, that, during that 8th round, I'm saying to myself, why the fuck did George Groves decide to engage with Carol Froch at that moment in time, when what he was doing up to that point seemed to be he was not so much, okay, he might be winning the fight and some people score cards, maybe not, depends on what your take on it was. At the same time as what he was doing seemed to be somewhat successful. So why in the hell did they get engaged in an absolute slugfest and then eventually get caught with a steaming right hand?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. I think it was just inexperience, really. It showed in the first fight as well. George's tendency to actually get into a slugfest when he's got the more superior boxing, he's got power, got the movement, but he just wants to show that manly side for himself, and he just wants to go into a slugfest, and that's just going straight into Carl Froch's territory, and that was exactly what I thought as well. I thought in this fight he would be more disciplined. His opponent's got more skill. He's a
Kasim, you're breaking up, mate. You're breaking up a wee bit, mate.
Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, Carl Froch, he's not supposed to win these fights, out of the bag. The man's got balls of steel. He's got heart of a lion, and he's a fantastic, fantastic servant to British boxing. His attitude stinks, let's face it. He's absolutely fantastic, and he showed that today. He was, I think, one of the sort of game plans that McCracken gave him was that, look, you are going to lose a majority of the rounds or some of the rounds, but that sort of opening for a punch will come in, and when it does come in, you will knock Groves out. So don't try and force the action, because it will come to you.
That was the thing, actually. You're right enough. As I says, I want to give credit to Robert McCracken. The fact is, if you look at the actual punch that knocked Groves out, it was the feint. He feinted with a jab, threw the jab. I think he threw a jab after the feint, and then he came with the left hook, which Groves then tried to attempt to block Alex, and then the right hand just came in and just folded, as you said, folded him up like a deck chair. To be brutally honest, is what now for Carl Froch? He wants to fight in Las Vegas. Who is he going to fight in America? As Eddie Hearn mentioned yesterday at the weigh-in, Andre Ward couldn't sell out his living room. That fight isn't going to sell out in Las Vegas. Is it going to be Chavez Jr. next, do you think?
It's probably going to be Chavez, isn't it? I mean, to be fair to Carl and give him some credit, I think he can fight whoever he wants next. He's got enough money in the bank to not really worry about getting the biggest payday now. I mean, he got what, 9 million for that, wasn't it? Just under. I
heard it was 4 million actually. I've been told it was £4 million he made last night. Now you've obviously got the back end of the pay-per-view. I don't know how much of the pay-per-view he's going to get of it, but I heard that his purse last night was 4 million.
Fair enough. And I've heard that he's investing his money wisely and all that. People seem to be saying that about him, that he's not being, stupid with his cash. So I don't think he really cares. I think he just wants to sort of fulfill this dream of fighting in Vegas and, living that sort of dream. And probably the best fight to do that against would either be Chavez or Golovkin, but it depends if Golovkin willing to go up and fight him there. Maybe we can get Hopkins or someone or Kovalev or Stevenson down from 175 to fight him, but honestly he can just do what he likes.
Tony, Kasim, do you see maybe Froch actually dumping the IBF title and maybe like the Gale fight for the vacant title? I'll just open it up to anyone who wants to jump in there, out of Tony and Kasim.
I would say that he would actually dump the IBF title. I mean, if DeGale's mandatory, and Carl Froch doesn't fight him, then Froch will be stripped. But it's just I don't know. For me, it's just a bit of a pointless fight for Froch. He's with the Groves incident. There was a lot of controversy in the first fight, so the rematch had to happen. I don't think he'll go down and fight DeGale. I think he will move up and fight Chavez Jr. because that's sort of an all-action fight, and that's a fight that really Carl Froch can win. The Andre Ward fight again is pointless. He can't sell anything. His purse bids are way too high, and he beats Carl Froch 7 days a week. I think he'll dump the IBF title. He'll go down another route. He's got the guy's got nothing left, apart from fighting in Las Vegas. He's done everything he set out to achieve, and that's what I believe.
A Ward fight in England, if you could get him over there, would make a ton of money. Maybe not as much as this, considering the coverage and the rivalry that happened over there, but you could put probably 50, 60,000 asses in seats for that fight in England. It would be one hell of a show.
You would definitely sell out the MEM in Manchester. You would sell out the Capital FM Arena in Nottingham, definitely.
Not Wembley.
Ward, for that instance, I've been reading comments recently about Andre Ward basically saying that he wants to, if he fights again, he's not really bothered, etc. I think this legal matter, he seems to be in bed with the fact is he's co-promoter, so to speak, isn't getting paid or isn't getting some sort of money back off the back end of Daniel Goosen. So I really don't know. Ward is an afterthought. I think at the end of the day is if Ward wants to fight Froch, my personal opinion is Ward, although he is classed as a lineal champion in super middleweight, I think he's got to take the short end of the money if he wants to fight Carl Froch.
Thing is with Ward though, I am being funny about it. Ward isn't going to come over to England to fight Froch because he would get fucking stitched right up. I know we're not talking about the undercard much tonight, but
he's a fucking prick, mate. No, I'm sorry jumping here, mate. I'm a wee bit drunk, but at the end of the day is Andre Ward, fuck him and fuck his career, because see, at the end of the day is a man who cannot come out of the fucking Super 6 and fight abroad. Be a man. Froch, Kessler, Darrell, Abraham, they all went abroad and fucking fought. That prick stayed in America. Fuck him.
Yeah, because Carl Froch has the broad. We all have to remember that.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Ward's by any means, but he's not going to come to England because he knows he's going to get stitched right up with his style. Look how close the cards were last time in America. Someone nearly had it a fucking draw, didn't they? I mean, it's disgraceful.
113, yeah.
So he's not going to come to England after what he saw. I mean, tonight we saw some shit stoppages. The cards are probably going to be fucking dog shit as well. Look at what Jim Watts scored tonight in the Froch fight. Ward isn't going to risk that as much as I think I can't stand Ward. He's not going to be that stupid.
So, what about Kurt, for instance, Saki Obika? I mean, you heard Froch tonight saying at ringside, don't make me win the title 3 times. I think that fight's got violence written all over it.
I think that's more likely than the Ward fight. I don't think the Ward fight will happen at all. Ward won't come over here, I don't think. He's too much of a diva. I mean, some will say, well, he deserves to call the shots because of who he is, but he wants everything at his own terms, and I don't think Froch cares about fighting him. Not that Froch, he's scared of him or anything, but he knows it'll be a horrible fight, an awkward fight for him, and I don't think he wants that. And I think the same with Saki Obika, he'll make a horrible fight as well. For me, I think the DeGale fight will happen, and I'll tell you why. I think British fans love a domestic fight that is.
So does Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, and it's a world title fight. People can say, well, DeGale's, not a big enough star and everything. But remember, before the Groves fight, people saying the same thing. Who's Groves for? This guy, this is a mismatch, blah, blah. But once the trash talking started, Eddie Hearn even said, that fight sold better than the Kessler rematch did. And the Kessler rematch was really hyped. Yeah. So, DeGale can talk. He likes to, say things and try and get under people's skin. Froch, I don't know whether he'll want that fight, but, if he can get a Chavez fight in Vegas, I presume he'd rather take that. But it's easy saying you want this fight, but it's another thing actually getting the fight, and a lot of things have to happen to make that fight. The fact is, the Gale fight is easy to make. He's just fought on the undercard. He looked really good on the undercard. They're both with Eddie Hearn. They're both British fighters. They're both right there. They're both fought now, and for me, it's a domestic fight. 2 bouts on the line again. They both can talk, they both can get each other again, and for Froch, he'll look at it like it's another fight that he can, dominate, and just like he looked at George Groves. And again, British fans like a big domestic fight. It won't be like a Wembley fight, but it'll still be a big fight.
But
Tony,
nobody gives a fuck about James DeGale
or Andre Ward for that matter. But
at least Andre Ward carries a name of relevance with him. That is the super middleweight champion. There's no way that he's going to waste this opportunity on coming off his biggest fight with, maybe just a couple more down the pipe for him. Froch is 36 years old, for God's sake. I'm thinking Chavez Jr., Golovkin. Honestly, if for some reason...
he's not going to fight Golovkin, mate. He's not going to fight Golovkin. He has basically said, stay clear of him.
Well, that's a shame. And I'll tell you this much. If for some reason Bernard Hopkins doesn't totally undress Adonis Stevenson with lateral movement. It seems like there's a couple ways to go at Stevenson now after Fanfara. One thing is just showing balls and being in his face. Froch has pretty much everything in the world that troubles Adonis Stevenson. If for some reason Hopkins-Stevenson doesn't end with Hopkins lifting the lineal title again, Froch could make history for, well, at least in his mind. I mean, a 2-division champ. I mean, it's fairly common now. But, I mean, he could be the lineal guy at 175 because I really think that he has the tools to execute what Fanfara did, just finish it off.
Tony, who would you like to see Froch with next? I mean, personally speaking, I don't think the Ward rematch is going to happen. In the build-up to the Kessler rematch, I didn't think Froch was all that keen in fighting Ward. He is of the opinion that Ward will retire undefeated. Would you prefer to see maybe Froch fight a rubber match with Kessler?
Well, yeah, I mean, straight after that, the second fight, there was talk of, before the first Groves one was announced, there was talk of, they was talking back then, before November, of, Carl was saying about wanting to go to Vegas. So he was talking about Chavez. They were talking about Kessler 3, and then Groves got made because he was the mandatory. I agree with you guys. I mean, he's gone on again tonight about Las Vegas and basically like a swan song type thing. So, I don't know the exact politics, but I'm sure that's the way it seems to be. They're hinting at Chavez, but as regards to the Gal thing, if he's now the mandatory with the IBF, so like what you guys said, if Carl drops the IBF, who would the Gal fight for that vacant title? Who's the number 2?
Number 2 for IBF, it would probably be. Let me just double check here. I think it would. Well, obviously, I think De Gale's ranked 4, Gonzalez is ranked number 3, so the European champion would need to step up, which would be the Frenchman Christopher Ribisi, would be the number 5 contender. Or, unless George Groves somehow steps into the breach, he's ranked number 6.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, if the French guy you said, I've never heard of him, so I wonder if, Eddie Hearn's point of view, if Carl goes off to fight Chavez in Las Vegas, it's a win-win if he can get De Gale a title fight against that guy, Christoph, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. The IBF, are they the one? They have some like strange names that I've never heard of in their top 10s, don't they? They're,
to be honest as well, mate, they're very stringent with the mandatory as well. I mean, I watched Ribisi fight Muhammad Ali Nandai in his last fight, which was for the vacant European title fight. He destroyed him in 4 rounds. I think he's fighting in the. He's actually. I just checked his record there. He's fighting in Kinshasa, in the Congo. When is that? He's fighting there late next month as well. Actually, for some reason, that's an odd fight. For some reason, he's going to be fighting over there. But I really don't know. I would like to see the Gale fight. I really don't know if De Gale has got it about him. I really like to see what De Gale's chin's all about, actually. Froch, even though he doesn't throw his punches in a manner, for instance, he's an arm puncher. He doesn't throw his punches through the hip. He's more an arm puncher. Kasim, I would like to see him in with the likes of De Gale, just to see if De Gale would maybe give him some more problems. And the fact is that De Gale is also a southpaw, which we haven't really seen Froch up against much through his career.
I mean, there's no doubt it's going to be a really competitive fight. I mean, was it Hay that at the end of the fight he said that De Gale reminds him a bit of Calzaghe? He's got something about him, De Gale, and the southpaw stance, it's going to cause a lot of problems for Froch. But obviously, we've seen with Froch, you can cause him problems for 11 rounds. All he needs is one punch. For me, I would love to see the Chavez Jr. fight. Why? Because Chavez Jr. just stands in one place because he can't be bothered to bloody move. And Froch just likes standing there and trading. So it'll be an all-out warfare. But in terms of testing Froch to his limits, the De Gale fight would be the best. And in terms of sort of Andre Ward, I don't know if you heard, but during the sort of broadcast, you could hear people booing when there was sort of periods of action where nothing was happening. Could you imagine if Andre Ward was there, holding and grappling and, just pushing Froch back? The crowd would walk out of the arena. So I don't think that makes any sense. But I was a bit skeptical about Froch taking the Gale fight, but Kurt has made some really good points about it, and I do think that it would be a really, really good fight. For Froch, it would be something very challenging for him, but in a different way. The Chavez Jr. fight will be challenging as well. That's sort of more about guts and heart and will. So either one of those fights, I really don't mind. Again, the Sakio Bika fight, that'd be a frustrating fight for him, so I wouldn't really avoid that. And I thought, Froch dismissed that fight. He did say, "Don't make me come take the WBC belt," but it wasn't something serious. I don't reckon.
Kasim, Tony, just before we let you go, I mean, I think, Kasim, you're looking maybe at the Chavez fight. Tony, who would you like to see Froch fight next? I mean, if you look at it this way, if Froch fights Bika and wins that fight, I'm looking at Kessler winning the Abraham fight, and then you've got the WBO title added into the mix. You've then got all the marbles there. Although Ward is classed as the WBA super champion and the ring champion, you could end up having a totally undisputed champion if that were the case, if that were to happen at some point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's so many great fighters in that division, and I mean the fact that Sauerland worked with Hearn, so you've got the Gal, Froch, Groves, Abraham, Beaker, what's his name? Let's not forget Callum Smith, as they keep telling everyone he's going to destroy the world. I'm not shitting on him. I'm not a hater, but he's coming up, so I'm sure they're going to gradually edge him up. Competition-wise, fielding. I know he's only domestic level, but I just want to say that this tonight has been a great night for all of us. We're big boxing fans. We've seen a big match get made. We're all boxing fans. None of us care about the politics. We've all, whether we pay for it or watch it on the radio, whatever. We've all got Box Nation. We've all got Sky. We watch any fight on any channel. We want to see the best fight, the best. Tonight we've seen a brilliant fight. It's dragged the casuals in. It's ended with it's not in. I said to someone yesterday that weigh-in, what we don't need is any. I mean, the fight was a bit cagey and whatever, but it's ended with a brutal knockout that everyone will sort of gasp at, but not a Michael Watson type tragedy. So all the stupid, media get on the bandwagon. It's ended. They've shook hands. They've paid each other compliments, like Cole should have done 6 months ago. He said tonight, blowed smoke up George's arse. Should have said 6 months ago, "Oh, you give me a great fight," and what he said tonight. But we're all winners. We've seen a great fight. People like Hay who fuck off, who cost fans, thousands of pounds. Do you know what I mean?
You're bang on, mate.
We're all glad tonight. We've seen a fight. No matter whether the guy we wanted to win won or not, we've seen a brilliant fight, and we just want more of the same.
Exactly, mate. And at the end of the day, as well, as we have had a definitive conclusion as to what happened in the first fight. Nobody can argue with the fact that it doesn't matter if you're a Groves fan or a Froch fan, or if you fancied a draw. At the end of the day, as you had a fight that was, you say as well, it was cagey, but at the same time as you had a fight that had a definitive conclusion. There is no more beef. There can be no more excuses. The better man won on the night, and you cannot basically argue against it. Anyways, Tony, Kasim, thank you for your time, mates. We're going to let you go because we've got some other callers who are going to come on the show. But if you want to have your say tomorrow, guys, we're going to speak about the undercard of the Sky card tomorrow and the other fights from Macau and hopefully Mexico as well. So hopefully we hear from you tomorrow.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Thank you so much.
No worries, Kasim. Thanks, mate.
Take
Tony,
care.
all the best, mate. Cheers, mate, for your time, eh?
Thank you. Bye.
Up next, we hope to have our one of our writers, Adam Smith. I believe Kurt's going to add him to the call just very, very presently. He'll be on a high. He's a very high Carol Froch fan. Adam, you there, mate?
Hello, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. You sober?
I'm not sober. My voice is gone. I'm the happiest man on earth. I'm telling you.
He's coming on to Michael Seat Crow.
Right, Kurt, you're top of the list. All the Froch haters can have it. You gave it me on the pod Sunday, Kurt. You can have that. I've got 2 words for all the Froch haters, the Froch datters. Have that. He was respectful after the fight this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that. He's got the best resume of any British fighter ever. Find me a better one, please. Please, if I'll be proven wrong, if you can find me a better
Randy
one.
Turpin, they beat Sugar Ray Robinson.
Sugar Ray Robinson, he wasn't British, was he?
No, Randy Turpin beat him though.
Fair dues, but no, honestly, I thought I've not. This is raw reaction. I've not been on Twitter. I've not watched any replays. Obviously, I'm just about to get in the car. I thought that
Was you at the
it was
fight,
boring.
mate,
Yeah. I
was the atmosphere? First of all, tell us what the atmosphere was like. You know, how was your view of the fight? Was it worth the money?
Well, you don't want to hear this, but I didn't pay. So I mean, but
How'd you get in then?
Well, when your employees have got the contract at Wembley, sometimes you get lucky. But the atmosphere was pretty shit, to be honest, until the main event. As I'm sure you can imagine, Jamie McDonnell the atmosphere was shit. It was pretty boring. It kind of ranked up when De Gale got involved. It ranked up a bit atmosphere-wise, but no, it's pretty average until then. I mean, it's difficult because you've got people like De Gale fighting probably in front of 40,000 people, but because it's not full and they're dotted about, it can be difficult at times. But obviously, when the main event came, I thought Groves' entrance from where we were standing was weird, like because they didn't have the Groves' entrance on the screen, so it was like was kind of looking over, seeing what was happened. It was a bit weird, to be fair. So we didn't really make much of that. How did it look on TV? That bus thing.
Look, I was like that actually. I've seen it myself. What the fuck are we getting here? And I saw Froch walking out. Just normally. So I don't know how much he's paid for. That type of entrance.
Shit, to be honest. But the rest of the intro was pretty good, I thought.
It was pretty shit.
I think because they both had like split music as well. I believe
both had them.
Music was good, like from both of them.
Yeah,
but,
there's split music. I tell you what, Groves must have been very warm because that heat was kind of like we was on the halfway line. That heat was at the end, if you like, behind the goal. We could feel it from where we were sitting. So he must have been bloody hot, George Groves, to be fair. But I just think Groves. I don't know how they've called it on TV. I don't really care at this point, to be honest. But I don't think he didn't land a straight right hand for me until round 4. I gave him rounds 4 and 5. So going into the 8th, I had Froch 5-2 up.
I was going to say that, mate. How did you score that fight? You had Froch 5-2 up at that point.
Yeah, I gave Froch the first 3 rounds, and I'm not saying that he dominated the rounds, but Grove simply was not doing enough. Now Froch was throwing jabs. Now not many of them are landing, but at least he's throwing punches. Like Grove simply didn't land enough in my book.
You had a 5-2, Adam.
Yeah, 5-2. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Even myself as a big Froch fan. I mean, I gotta ask you. Back in the dressing room, did you give him a congratulatory blowjob as well?
No,
God, man.
No, I don't work for the WBA or WBC.
To be fair, though, I mean, when you're watching it live, it can look different as well. I mean, Adam might watch it on TV, he might change a round or two, but I mean, it's different live. You know what I mean? But I want to ask Adam. You saw De Gale on the undercard. Do you think that fight realistically can happen next, or do you think Froch will go a different route?
No, it won't happen next. I think the way that Eddie spoke about it, because am I right in saying that Groves was classed as a mandatory challenger tonight?
Yeah, bypass that fight, I think.
So Froch will have at least one interim bout. Whether he retires after that interim bout, I don't know. But there's no way that De Gale happens this year. There's no way De Gale happens this year. For me, the best thing to happen tonight, other than a Froch win, obviously, because I'm buzzing, the best thing to happen tonight was a De Gale win, because De Gale is at the top of my vulnerable list. De Gale's getting knocked out by someone. I hope it's going to be Carl Froch. So tonight's De Gale performance, which was impressive in front of the Sky's cameras, the bookies will take notice. If I was to price that fight up now, I'd have Froch at 1-7. 1-7 maybe, but tonight's performance means that people like me will get a good price on Froch to win by KO.
I'm going to defend you here, Adam. Right before I bring on the big boss man, Tommy Allen, who's joining us on the call shortly. You know, he'd probably half cut like myself.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'll be honest, mate. Is when me and Tommy were at Ricky Burns against Gonzalez, I had.
That was a different fight, didn't it?
It was, aye. It was a
different
total different fight watching it live than it was on television because there was punches landing there.
Yeah.
On the live broadcast, one in landing. Well, I was watching it ringside, totally different. So I don't know if you remember your view.
Maybe that was a drink one day.
Maybe, mate. Well, listen, or maybe it was amphetamines, mate. I don't know, but at the same time as well, you know, there was no fucking way can you have a Froch 5-2 up.
So
I'm sorry,
what's the score then?
Listen, mate.
What's your score then? Seriously, like, because you know I'll give it you honestly.
Goes up by a point.
Right, fair dues. But you know that I'll give it you honestly. Like, I'm not going to come and say, oh shit, Andy's saying that Groves was winning. I'm not going to change my score. My score is 5-2.
No, I'm not going to do that, mate.
Yeah, that's. I'll watch it tomorrow, and you know that I'll give it you honestly. But I mean, from where we were sitting, I don't know whether you watch, you know, you guys being Scottish. If you watch England games, you know the area at Wembley that's always fucking empty after half time because they're all having the prawn sandwiches. Yep. The leather seat area. We was in there, and I was on row 25, and I can honestly say I was watching the boxers rather than the screen. A lot of guys.
Adam, that's the way we take the goalpost shoot back in the day, son.
1967,
well, yeah, I mean,
Jim Baxter.
67, Andy, aye.
There was Jim Baxter going down the line, you know, we keep you up and then they destroyed the pitch and took the grass and the goalposts away, you know.
That's right. They try to get
was that Gascoigne taking it around Stephen Hendry and then volleying it in? Yeah, I remember that.
Get him off this call.
I remember that. But no, I mean, Froch's. I mean, that finish as well. To be fair, you know, the straight 1-2 was decent. And yesterday at the weigh-in, it was all Groves, and you know, it definitely got to Froch because he was even doing the Hulk Hogan, you know, and to his ear. And at that time, I thought, you know, I woke up this morning and I thought, bloody hell, you know, Froch is in trouble here. But must be honest, the Froch fans turned up today. It was definitely a 50-50 crowd, and I wasn't expecting that this time yesterday. So,
all 5 of us.
Well, let's just remember that they've had to travel, you know, 125 miles from Nottingham. In fairness. But no, I think it was a 50-50 crowd today.
It definitely was, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I say, the point being, Froch spoke very well after the fight. I mean, last time I was fuming, and I'm the most biased man on here, and I was fuming after Froch.
That's what I said earlier, Adam. I mean, it was good to see Froch doing what he should have done really after the first fight.
And to be fair, I even think he was talking through gritted teeth to a point. But I think he knows he made a mistake last time on the apron, and you know, a couple of weeks after. So even if he had to speak, you know, even if he had to tell a little white lie to himself tonight, he spoke nicely of Groves. But yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing. Have that. That's the 2 words. Have that.
Right, cut him off.
Get him
right,
off.
I'm going.
Wait a minute. Listen, mate. Listen, I understand where you're coming from. You know, I went to Germany for Hey Klitschko. All I was supporting Hay, you know, I came out of that fight, you know, at the same time as I'm going to share a wee bit of nostalgia here. When Muhammad Ali beat George Foreman in Kinshasa to regain the world heavyweight title, what happened after that fight? It pissed the rain and it was thunder and lightning. Yeah. After Hay lost to Klitschko, I walked back to the train station and it was pissing the rain. Yeah. And I stood in the train station and what happened? It started thunder and lightning. And I stood there like that with all these drunken British people. They're all casuals. I remember spoke to 1 or 2 people hardcore, and I spoke to one guy and he says, "Listen, mate, this reminds me of what happened when Ali beat Foreman. Just the rain and the thunder and lightning. You know, just something like that. You know, things like that just don't leave you. You know, and you know, I actually envy you because you were there. 80,000 people. You know, tonight was, you know, a great moment in British boxing history. You know, even though it may not have been, you know, the fight, you know, the result that I wanted, because, you know, I'm not a big Froch fan, but I'm going to give him his due. You know, you're a big Froch fan. I'm not going to hate on you for that, but I'm going to hate on you for the fact that you had that fucking fight 5-2, you cunt. Fuck, man, come on!
So, honestly, I know you guys have probably discussed it. I haven't really thought about it much. What's the next step for Froch? If we're assuming it won't be De Gale, it won't be De Gale, but where do you guys think we'll go next?
I think it's going to be De Gale. I think that's the only fight.
Really?
I think it will be.
I think it will be.
I think it will be.
That's a big
deal. Listen, that's maybe no Wembley, but that's still a big fight. That.
And Hearn likes the domestic fights, especially a world title.
And they're both going to talk, aren't they? They're both going to talk.
Yeah, De Gale can give it him like Groves did.
Is Chavez Jr. signed up to Golovkin, or is that a no-go?
That's
That's
off.
a no-go.
So it might be that then.
I think Chavez will target Saki
I
Ibaka. I
think-
think that's the most logical fight.
I think he's off to Al Heyman, to be honest.
Could be.
Right, well, I'm going to shoot, guys. You've had enough of me now, but yeah.
All the
for a
best,
bit of
mate.
your
Thanks for your time,
Cheers,
anyway. Thanks for
Adam.
your
Thank you.
live.
Try and get on tomorrow, Adam.
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah, cheers, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Thanks
bye.
a lot. Just to let
You
listeners
really
know,
think
as I
hold
know
on.
there's been a lot of controversy tonight about the British referees. You know, myself and Kurt, we agree with you 100%. The British referees should not not officiate a world title fight in this country ever again. They are fucking woeful. They should never. In fact, British referees should be executed. They should be hung, drawn and quartered, the four quarters of the globe. You know,
I mean,
we'll discuss it in more detail tomorrow, but it was a fucking
they should be at
disgrace
low
tonight.
level.
Those British referees, absolute disgraceful.
Well, fuck, we've known how shitty the British have been since, like the 1770s, so way ahead of you, Andy.
I mean, I just wish we could have a good ref like Louis Pabon. That's the guy that we need. Get him over here.
I haven't even seen that fight, mate, but according to Twitter, this as well, I didn't see that fight because I could be a lot worse at the minute.
Did Waters beat Darchinian?
Knocked him out.
Fifth round knockout, yeah, mate.
Bastard.
Yeah,
He's
if you
just
lost
way-
your prediction league, Tommy,
just
Polo
way
Punch
too-
has it.
Who won it?
No,
Who
he never picked.
Polo
He never
Punch
picked.
pulled it out.
So he's knocked out. Anyways,
He got
guys,
it.
before we go ahead,
Andy's won it then. Andy's won it.
before we go ahead, we've got Ross Sutherland on the line. I believe he's an actor from Scotland. He sounds like Ricky Burns.
Aye.
Ross, how did
Ross
you
is
have that
alright.
fight before a stoppage, mate?
What was that, sorry?
How did you have the fight before a stoppage? What was the score?
I reckon going into the sixth, I can't really remember much of the seventh. It was 4-2 Groves, but obviously I didn't hear any of the bias on Sky. Most of the who we were sitting beside was mostly kind of Froch fans, and they kind of had it up for Groves as well at that point. So, but Froch seemed to be very tentative, and he wasn't letting his punches go. And I thought, well, what's going on here? But it was definitive. I mean, I just scooted straight out of the stadium when he got knocked out to get the tube, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know what I've not looked on Twitter. I've not looked at any of the reaction. So I don't know what you guys were hearing on Sky, but I definitely had Groves up at that point. But I mean, it was close, you know.
Yeah.
My scorecard at that point, the knockout, I had Groves up by 1 point. There was, as you said yourself, the first 2-3 rounds were very, very close. It was more a jab fest. I felt Groves was far, far quicker to the punch at points. I just don't know what Jim Watt was thinking about. Jim Watt had at one point, I think it was running about round. Kurt, remind me here, mate. It was round 7. I'm up by 4 points. Was it?
I think after round 6, I think he only gave Groves 1 round.
Yeah. They showed the card. There was a screenshot going about.
And there was not even one
5-1.
even round there. Not one even round. And you know how Watt loves his even rounds.
There was no chance that he was definitely.
I want to know what Andy and Kurt think Amir Khan tonight, because he had it bang on.
Listen, mate.
They tried to change his mind, didn't they? Did you hear that?
But the thing is, I was posting on the site, and as I say,
He's got previous for that, hasn't he?
I will
Man's
repeat
got
my
previous
scorecard. I'm going to repeat my scorecard. First 2 rounds to Groves, round 3 to Froch, round 4 to Groves, 5 and 6 to Froch, round 7 to Groves, and I felt Groves was edging the fucking 8th round until he decided to get fucking kamikaze and get into a war.
I had it exactly the same every round.
I felt Groves was.
It's not exactly. It's not exactly we all agreed at the same time, but I had the fight exactly the same as you, Andy. I thought Groves was just edging it, but it could have been a round either way. But I had Groves slightly in front. But Sky were absolutely unbelievable tonight. That was terrible, eh?
It was awful.
Well, I'm glad.
Sorry, mate. You're on the call just now. Carry on.
That's all right. No, I'm just trying to listen to what's going on, what happened on the Sky broadcast, because I mean, it didn't come across like that at all in the stadium. But I don't know. People started booing a lot as well, so it was kind of. I don't know if that picked up Carl a wee bit to try and entertain the crowd. But I thought Groves was boxing lovely, just boxing and moving, just keeping him out of trouble. You know, every time Froch came in to try and raise fists, he just tied him up a wee bit. I don't know what happened. I mean, you obviously saw it better than I did because you're on the telly. So, I mean, did he kind of walk into a punch, or I mean,
what happened is Froch faked the jab, then he came in with the jab or the left hook, and then I think Groves attempted to counter the jab with his own left hook.
He threw the left hook. Yep.
He threw the left hook, but at the same time as Froch was just far quicker with the straight right hand. So basically, Groves was more kind of turned side on to the punch, and it just happened straight on the jaw. And you know, end of the day is if you throw that punch at the you're going to get wiped out. You know, it was just unfortunate for George Groves.
Did he have any complaints after it?
No, definitely not. There's no complaint about that. There is no complaint.
He had the
Froch.
He had the oxygen
Froch
mask
had it
on.
close, though.
Oh dear. Oh well.
I think Paulie though he seemed a bit embarrassed at times by Hauling and what, you know, he was like saying, oh well, you know, I could see how it could be a closer fight because, you know, Groves, it depends on what you like. He seemed to be trying to separate himself from Jim Watt's horrible.
I actually felt that Jim Watt and Paulie Malignaggi actually teamed up pretty well tonight. Actually, you know, they were agreeing on a lot of things, you know. But I felt Paulie could, you know, I like Paulie. He speaks a lot of sense. Nick Holland, you need to fucking die. Do not speak on boxing, you motherfucking cuntbag muscle cunt. You need to die. You know fuck all about boxing.
Aye, but you got to remember that he's basically got to big up the Sky fighter.
Yeah.
That's his job. I mean, I know we think he's terrible, but they all do it, and it's to try and bring more people in, and it's like they always do it with the house fighter. That's the way it is, you know. You know, you can have like a couple of us cunts doing it, and I don't think anybody would be like that. I mean, the swearing would probably put people off. but you know, you get
kill the cunt, fucking kill him right now. I don't think that would wash too well with Sky, would it?
Probably not, but you know, I'd quite.
Adam, shut up, you fucking poof! You look like a batty boy, don't you?
He looks like Mr. Bean. That's who he looks like. I was at the being a total geek this week. I went to one of the Westfield to watch George Groves' training session, and Adam Smith just looks so out of place. I saw these kind of boxers that all look like they're out of an East End movie in the 1950s. You know what I mean? And he's walking about like. But anyway, I'll get off and let somebody else that's got more of an opinion on this than me.
Well, as I said tonight, mate, and I'm not getting off, so I'm glad somebody else does.
What's that?
Anyway, Ross, thanks for your time, mate. Hopefully we hear from you again, eh?
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, fellas. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
We've just heard that actually. Kurtz has posted on the Skype chat that Jim Watt had Carol Froch 7-1 up.
Fucking hell.
7-1 up.
How much booze has Watt had before?
He must have had the fucking hip flask filled with fucking the best whiskey that I've never tasted, because I'll tell you right now, how the fuck you could have. Listen, my missus was saying, you know, she was like, this fight's shite, you know, it's her birthday, she's sitting watching the fight with me. I actually had to beg her to come home tonight to watch the fight with me, and she's like, this isn't like the first fight. I said, yeah, I know, because it's fucking shit. Right? I believe we've got Graham on the line. How you doing, Graham? Are you there, mate?
How you doing, Andy? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, mate, I can hear you. How did you have that fight, mate? You know, how did you score the fight up until the stoppage?
I had it the exact same as you, every single round. I thought it was Groves was one round up.
Yep.
I mean, it was a bit of a shock. I mean, personally, I'd picked Groves by KO, but to be honest, I did not for 1 second see it being a single shot. I thought it would have been accumulation punches like the last fight. And I mean, I wasn't too sure on Groves' tactics. I mean, he was so effective in the first fight with power shots, and he just seemed. I thought he was still a bit tentative. I don't know if it was the effectiveness of Carroll's jab. It was putting his timing off, I think. But I did expect a bit more from Groves. I can only assume that he was just trying to take him late and maybe fight fire with fire late on.
I think he was just paced himself.
Aye, exactly. And but it was a great dig. I mean, I couldn't believe it when it put him away. It was a very, very good effort, and I thought Carroll did pretty well. I mean, the effectiveness of his jab, I think, was the big difference. When in the first fight he was pulling away with his jab, and it was letting Groves in the fight, where he had a bit more authority, and that made all the difference, I think. But no, it was a good fight, and it was a hell of a dig, and I genuinely thought Groves was pretty badly hurt when he went down and needed the oxygen when he got back up. But no, it was good to see him get back up. But no, good fight, and I mean, listening to what you guys were saying about who will be next, I think it will be De Gale. I'm pretty certain that's who will be next. I mean,
it's got to be.
It's got to be. I mean,
I reckon as well.
If there was no need. I mean, Eddie Earns pulled him in for a reason, and it will be a big fight. And I wouldn't be surprised if you could put that in a moderately big stadium and it will still sell out. I mean, they could have sold 150,000 tickets supposedly
City
for that
ground, 30,000.
They could put it in the City ground, no bother. I mean, Groves and De Gale, all right, they had a bit of history, but I mean, they sold out the O2 after about a dozen fights. So I think people underestimate how big a fight that would actually be. But I know obviously Froch has got different ideas about going to Vegas. But I mean, would the IBF and WA, do you reckon they would both sanction Chavez?
Let me just check now, mate. I'll just check the rankings. I've got the rankings here. WBA, he has not ranked with WBA, and the IBF, he has also not ranked there. So Kessler's ranked number 3 with the WBA. I mean, I'll be honest, I know he wants to fight in Vegas, but I think the big money fight still is the Kessler rubber match. You know, Kessler's got that pay-per-view money in Denmark. Maybe they can cut a deal, whereas Froch might get a portion of that share of the Danish pay-per-view market.
No, I could definitely see the Kessler fight again. But yeah, I think if I was a betting man, I was going to put money in it. I think De Gale would be a good shout. I mean, I know they've mentioned before the Groves fight when they were talking about the rematch, and they were saying that Carl would never vacate. So if he's not going to vacate, he's going to have to fight De Gale. But whether or not he gets a fight in between that's another story, isn't it? Yeah. But I definitely see Kessler's definitely another option. But if he wants to go to Vegas, then fair dues. But I mean, do you reckon that would do well in Vegas? I mean, I'm talking bums and seat in Vegas.
No.
I don't think it would either.
No. I really don't know. Matty, what do you think, mate? I mean, Chavez, I think he did pretty poorly pay-per-view wise for the first fight against, or figure wise against Brian Vera, and I think the ticket sales are pretty poor for the second fight.
I think that the Mexican fan kind of gets sick of Chavez's whole shtick. They saw him on the 24th and not taking it seriously. I mean, it's to say that you're a pride Mexican, but it's another thing to put everything into a fight because of that pride. And I think they're just starting to see him how I've seen him for a long time. He's a spoiled punk ass. But I do think that after the last Vera fight, and given Froch has a good scope right now because this was on HBO, that fight could do some decent numbers. It would probably put some good asses in the MGM.
Just talking about HBO there, actually, I mean, I believe HBO are getting a lot of shit for their non-commentary for the stoppage, non-Nito Donaire. What was the HBO commentary like tonight for that fight? For George Groves and Carol Froch. I mean, we're not talking about the other fights tonight, obviously, but how were they talking about that fight tonight?
They had it basically how I had it. We could say that maybe it leads you when you're scoring a little bit, but I just think it was one of those situations where they didn't have a horse in the ring, really. They saw that they could do all right with Froch Ward 2. They saw that they could probably have a new one in Groves versus Ward. And I think that's where all their eggs are really at 168 right now, is trying to find people for Andre Ward. So they didn't have any bias with it. I thought it was a very, very clean telecast, no punches pulled. Steve Weisfeld was the one scoring it. He had 68 to 65 at the time of the stoppage, which I think was plenty fair.
So Graham, you think basically, mate, that is, if it's not going to be James De Gale, perhaps maybe Julio Cesar Chavez next, or would you like to see the Kessler rubber match?
It's a difficult one. I mean, I would like to see him with Chavez. I think it would be a hell of a fight.
I think it would be a brutal fight.
I think it would be a hell of a fight. But at the same time, you could throw him in with Kessler, and every day it would be a great fight. I mean, the only thing is, I think Kessler's definitely past his best, and
Right,
I mean,
ban him from his call straight away.
I genuinely think that Carroll would be a decent shout at stopping Kessler. I think he's getting to that point, but at the same time, I do think Carroll's past his best as well. I don't think he is as good as he was a couple of years ago. I think he definitely has maybe slowed down a wee bit. But saying that, you touched on Ward briefly. I mean, what must he be thinking the position that he's in? The skill set he's got. I mean, he is just in the absolute wilderness for a guy his quality. He must be. I mean, I know obviously he's been taking a bit of stick for saying it was a domestic fight. I mean, surely he must be watching that, thinking to himself, how am I not in that position? I mean, I think Eddie Hearn's right. I mean, he couldn't sell out his living room. It's unbelievable. And I mean, if I'm Froch, I mean, I wouldn't be going anywhere near Ward, even if I could get him into Nottingham, because I think, like a few of the guys touched on beforehand, he'd be getting booed out the stadium if they put it in a stadium or wherever. I mean, I think it would just be a bit of a snooze fest. But I mean, I think in some cases Ward's kind of made his own bed, hasn't he? With some of the comments that he's made and the legal wranglings that he's got himself into. I mean, he's not legal wrangling with somebody yet. He wants the guy to set up fights for him. I mean, it's just a joke. But I mean, going back to who I'd like to see him in with, personally, I think it'll be De Gale, but either Chavez or Kessler would be a hell of a fight, and I'd probably go with Froch on both instances. But I tell you what, though, I've said it for a while. I think Groves would be I think De Gale would be a nightmare for Froch.
Definitely.
I've thought that for a long time, and he's a tricky guy. Very, very good boxer. I mean, I think he has got his own vulnerabilities, De Gale, but I just think he's all wrong for Froch, and I don't know if he'd want to jump out his chair for the De Gale fight, but I've got a funny feeling that's where Mr. Hearn might push him.
Graham, you're the laddie for Tullabody, eh?
Aye.
Smart boy, son. I can't that. For the same tune as myself. This laddie knows what he's talking about.
What, you two from the same place?
Yeah.
How come Graham speaks such good English and Tommy, you just struggle?
He's for the snobby side of the tune, eh?
I moved away from there 13 years ago. I live in Newcastle nowadays, so yeah, Wait
a minute, you live in Newcastle.
You moved to Newcastle, but you sound better than you did when you left. That doesn't make any sense, Alex.
You don't like my fucking cooking? Anyway, Graham, thanks for your time, mate. Thanks for your comments as well. Hopefully, we'll hear from you tomorrow as well, because we're going to be doing a live show about the undercard and hopefully the rest of the fights as well. So, thanks for your comments, mate.
I'll be listening.
Cheers, Graham.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot.
See you later, mate.
Well, listeners, I believe we'll be getting the biggest Froch fan on our site coming on very, very shortly. It'll be Sebastian Fuego, I believe, and the heavyweight contender. I believe Clarence Tillman's want to have a comment. Be with us a second. I believe we're getting Sebastian on the line.
I'm not to the toilet. I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Fuck that. He's going to be. I'll imagine he's full of the fucking Colombian marching powder just now.
Definitely.
I need to stick another beer in the freezer actually to get through this somehow. Sebastian, you there, mate?
Yeah, I'm here, mate.
Listen, mate. Put the ching down and tell me how the fuck you had that fight scored in favour of Froch by, I think you had, what was that fight? How did you have that fight scored? Was it 6?
I haven't even seen a replay of the KO punch yet, so I'm going to have a look back at it in a minute.
Was it 5-2? You had that fight 5-2 for Froch, didn't you not?
I had it 5-2, yeah.
Explain, brother.
Same as Jim, right?
Seriously, explain that
Same
one, please.
I gave Froch the first two. I gave him, I can't remember all the rounds. I'm going to have to watch it back, but unless I have a look at the fight, I can't really like justify it with any clarity. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm in a fucking whirl of elation / mania / all the other shit that you can experience when you're really happy that you've seen a fucking annoying little prick get smashed.
Hey, I gotta ask you though. I gotta ask you, Sebastian.
I don't give a fuck, man.
Seb, go and mute your program in the background, mate.
From Jim Watt as a child?
Hold on, it's the pay-per-view still. Give me a sec.
Mute it in the background, we can hear it on the feed there.
He's showing me, I'm in the other room, but there you go. Go on. What you got?
Someone's playing Oasis.
No, that's not me, man. It's someone else, I think.
Oh, fuck, that's me. Sorry. Sorry, I'm actually watching Carol Froch against Brian McGee. Right, mate, on you go. Sorry about that.
What were we talking about? I've forgotten.
Yeah, how the fuck did you have that fight scored 5-2 for fucking Froch? There's no
Unless I
way,
watched
brother,
it
you
back,
could have that fight 5-2.
I remember having it 5-2. Well, Jim Watt had it 5-2, and
yeah, but Jim Watt's fucking useless.
Jim Watt. No.
Come on, man. Come on.
I'm going to quote Tommy here because Tommy loves Jim Watt, and Tommy's word is good enough for me. Tommy's opinion on Jim is good enough for me. Tommy loves Jim Watt, so I'm citing his opinion. And I respect Tommy's opinion on Jim, and I respect Jim. So I'm going to go with. To watch the fight back, I'm going to lean on Jim.
Tommy, come on, man! You need to defend this shit. How the fuck? Come on, Tommy, man! Step up.
I'm leaning on Tommy and Jim.
Come on, Tommy, step up, mate.
I think you really did go to take a piss.
Where the fuck did Tommy go? Come on, Tommy. He's not there. Oh, you're fucking kidding me. Anyway, Sebastian, so you had the first two rounds.
I had the first 2 rounds for Froch. 3 and 4 to me right now are in a fucking haze somewhere, as are 5 and 6. 7 was Groves. There was one clear one for Groves somewhere in 3, 4, 5, and 6. Might have been 6 actually, or maybe not.
Seventh was a clear round. 7th was a clear round for Groves.
Seventh was clear for Groves. But what round did you say just then?
Right, I'll tell you my scorecard. I had the first 2 rounds for Groves. Although it was very, very cagey, I felt that Groves was maybe landing the jab a bit more. There's a few shots in there as well. I felt he was landing a little bit more cleaner.
I thought a lot of I thought
Froch was to the body. I felt.
Yeah, well, that's good work, isn't it?
Yeah, but I also felt as Groves was landing more stinging punches.
I thought Froch was controlling the exchanges more. I thought he was the more in charge of the way the direction of the fight was going and the control of the ring. Do you know what I mean? I don't really buy into that fucking Groves was doing an outboxing job, to be honest. I think they were both landing the jab. The thing is, Froch has got the kind of jab, that doesn't, and we saw this in the Durrell fight as well. His jab in the Durrell fight was very undercredited. He did a lot of work in that fight that doesn't get credit now because it's one of those jabs that isn't necessarily the most aesthetically pleasing, eye-catching jab, but it does work. It does work, and it does snap the head back, and it scores. I would say that George Groves has the kind of jab that catches your eye more. George Groves is a little bit. Carl Froch's jab is a little bit more. It's not as flashy a jab. Do you know what I mean? But it's still there. It's still insistent. Still doing work. It's still moving the other guy. I thought the jab exchanges were back and forth. But both guys got their jab there. What I liked overall was the way Carl was controlling the generalship of the ring. I thought he was the guy who was beginning and ending things. I mean,
he commanded centre ring. A good portion of that fight, he commanded centre ring.
I thought Groves as well. Another thing, I think a lot of people maybe looking at the right hands that Groves would land. I mean, I thought Carl was rolling a lot of those off, and I thought Groves was moved more when Carl punched. When Carl got home with something, I thought that Groves was affected more, except for I think was it the 7th round where he hurt Froch a little.
Yeah, I think it was 7th round, 6th or 7th round,
with that stiff jab. Apart from that, I thought
left hook as well.
Let's have it right. I mean, Groves is an effective puncher. He's not the banger that people thought he was after the first fight, because of the way Froch ran onto that fucking shot. All of a sudden, Groves became the fucking monster puncher who ate Cincinnati. Do you know what I mean? But he can bang. He's got a decent punch. The thing about it is the resilience factor comes in here because although both guys have got different kinds of power, they can both hit. It's Froch, I think, generally speaking, will take Groves' punch a bit better than Groves will take his. Groves has got a good poker face. Do you know what I mean? I give him this in the first fight and in the second fight. He did a real good job of covering up when he felt something. I could sort of like perceive. It was perceptible that you could tell that he would feel something, but he did a good job of brave facing and poker facing his way through it. Do you know what I mean? I think generally speaking, I could just see it when Froch would get something home. Groves was just moving, and then it was that authority. I thought the authority in more rounds was there with Carl Froch, and it's quite possible that I could look at it tomorrow have a look at it and end up with 4-3 Froch. But I'm very sure, that I will look at that fight again and not be dissuaded from my view that Froch was ahead after 7 rounds. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I will look at it again with fresh eyes. Either way, for me, right, there's a point that stands relatively Groves around the head or Froch around the head, is that a lot of people thought Froch couldn't box with George Groves, and he did. He did, and he did have success, and he did frustrate George Groves with the range. It wasn't all George Groves taking a different tack. Do you know what I mean? I mean, a big part of it was Carl Froch being a lot more cagey, a lot more aware. I mean, he attuned himself to what Groves was good at, adjusted to that speed. I mean, I thought he made the better adjustments overall from the first fight. I thought he was the guy who made the better adjustments out of the two from the first fight. I mean, George Groves maybe didn't feel he needed to make any adjustments. Do you know what I mean? Because he had so much success in the first fight. Carl Froch did. He obviously needed to change something from what he did, and he did. I just felt he was the more authoritative guy when it came down to the power punches landing. Do you know what I mean? And I also felt that Carl was very good at rolling off. I mean, I'm not saying...
He was rolling with George's punches, wasn't he? Some of the shots he landed, he was rolling off at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, those are scoring punches. They're still scoring punches.
He was walking into those punches the last fight, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he did a good job of minimising the effect that those shots could have. And they're scoring punches, they still count. But I felt that Carl had the greater authority when it came to landing the dude. Go on.
Tommy,
Carry on before you go shoot.
No, I was just going to say,
No, go for it, man.
Sebastian was saying, Tommy, that you're a big fan of Jim Watt, and Jim Watt's scorecard was 71, in favour of Froch. That, he was riding with that scorecard. He had the 5-2 for Froch.
Jim Watt is a legend, mate.
Listen, honestly, how the fuck can you have a 5-2? I cannot understand it.
Listen, right, listen.
What I was saying is, I respect Tommy's respect for Jim.
I'm going to put my 10 cents in. I'm going to put my 10 cents in, right? See if you're a fan of either fighter, you could have that fight either way, maybe 5-2 for either fighter, couldn't you have? Because there was no lot in the rounds. There wasn't a lot in the rounds. There wasn't a lot in the rounds. I think George was maybe a round up. But I wouldn't argue anybody the other way for Froch, or even having Froch 2 up, because it was that close. I like George's jab in there. I thought he was landing his jab. Nah. There was no way there was 4 points in that fight. The Sky, that's really the point I wanted to make. Sky were a disgrace tonight. They knew who they wanted to win, and they had picked her man, hadn't they? That's what I thought. But listen, I picked George Groves to win. I thought he came out with the perfect tactics tonight. I see him boxing the first 2 rounds.
I see that. Tommy, you see that last night, mate?
I turned to my dad. I was watching. Aye. Yep.
See that last night? I says it'll be a bone fight.
I'm sitting with my dad and my uncle, and I says to my dad, uncle. Yep.
When you go, mate, sorry.
What's going on here? Someone say something.
Sorry, I'm going to go off. I turned to my dad and my uncle. I was watching the fight of the two of them, and I says to my dad, this is George Groves' fight. This is exactly the way. I've said it for months. George Groves needs to box within himself and just cruise to a decision, because he can outbox Carl Froch. But see, at the same time, I wasn't impressed with Carl's boxing because I didn't underestimate it. But I shouldn't have, though, because he was a world class amateur. He medalled in the World Championships, and for anybody that can't box, that's a hard thing to do. So, but I thought after 2 rounds, I said, this is George Groves' fight. He's going to win this fight. He's going to cruise to it. But Carl pulled the shot out, and he did take his own shots as well. And at the end of the day, he deserves a lot of credit for doing that. The only problem I've got is the way Sky had it. The better man won tonight, so I think we can move on and maybe see a better fight with James DeGale, hopefully.
Tactics changes. Before these tactics changes, though, I mean, what essentially happened is that it turned into what the first fight was. They were both trying to bang it out, and George Groves just got knocked the fuck out. I mean, for all the tactics and the boxing in the first couple of rounds, they were both using their jab. They're being a lot more tentative. In the 7th round, that's when it all changed. Groves, sort of lit Carl up quite a bit, and Carl was fighting back and really roughing him up. And then that progressed into the 8th round, just like as it was in the first fight, and Carl caught him with just a fucking monster shot and ended him, and it makes all the stuff that preceded it sort of irrelevant.
I think what really changed it was the fact when Froch started going to the body, when he started getting, not quite what you'd call crowding, but close enough to Groves, and he started unleashing a flurry of body shots, that started to slow Groves down a bit, and also got that body work into his head. So you get into the 8th round there, they're getting close to those close quarters there. Froch goes upstairs. I think Groves is probably expecting him to start going downstairs again, because that's where he's been having his most success. So he decides to go up top, and he's left himself wide open. I think that the decision to go down to the body when he did in the 5th round is what really paid the dividends in the end, just by giving Groves an expectation that wasn't there.
My.
Yeah.
Did I agree to pay money out for the prediction league?
What's that?
Did I agree to pay money out for the prediction league?
Yeah, you got to send Bolo Punch $50, bro.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, that's going to cut your beer budget at Cotto Martinez Homes.
Send them a personal message. Tell them I'll pay them in a fortnight.
Okay, you got it.
Seb, just before we let you go, mate, who do you want to see Froch fight next? We've got another caller wanting to come on. Who do you want to see your hero fight next?
I want to see the Ward rematch. Because I think...
He gets schooled though, mate. Come on, he gets schooled.
No, but the thing about it is, I think in the 2.5 years since the first fight, he's done enough to say that he deserves...
He wants it, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't. I don't think he wants that fight.
He does
think he wants that fight.
I'm not saying he wants it, but he wants it. He definitely deserves it.
He wants it. Yeah, definitely. I think he's done enough in the two. I think he's done more than enough in the 2.5 years since to say, all right, give him another crack, see what he can do with a second go. Do you know what I mean? Even if it's a boring fight or whatever, they're the best 268 pounders. Yeah, I'll put them back together. It's not like Ward's got anybody else to fight. Do you know what I mean? So, unless he wants to move up and fuck with Kovalev or someone.
That's the fight I think HBO throws some money at, actually. That would be one intriguing fight, one I don't think that Froch can pull out just because how compact and hard Kovalev's combinations are.
No, I meant Ward, Matty. I meant Ward.
No, I'm saying, well, yeah. That ain't going to happen.
One thing I was going to say is, I didn't see the
heavyweight.
Go on. No,
I'm just going to say, I think Froch moving up to light heavyweight is career suicide, especially at this point in his career. Kovalev. I'm not going to say that Froch is going to get wiped out by Kovalev. He mentioned way back about fighting Pascal a rematch at light heavyweight. That was, I think it was before, maybe even the Ward fight. Actually, he wanted to fight Pascal in the rematch. But he's not a light heavyweight. I mean, he weighed in the 171 pound against Bute. He's not a light heavyweight, he's a super middleweight, he's a clear super middleweight.
And Andy, we touched on this before. If there was a weight class between middleweight and super middleweight, who would be the best fighter there?
It would be fucking Carl Froch.
Of course. He's walking about at like 172, 173, right?
I found it weird that he actually weighed in 175. I found that very, very weird.
Yeah.
It must have been fully clothed.
Aye. George was cutting a lot of weight coming into the fight. That's not an excuse, though. The best one, but Froch is in shape all the time. He is not a light heavyweight. Not in my opinion, anyway.
Yesterday, I spoke to Alex Arthur, right, ex-WBO super featherweight champion, and he says to me, and I agreed with him actually as well, is I felt that Groves cut the weight too late. Maybe I wasn't. There's no excuses for what happened tonight. He got wiped out, good and clean. I felt that perhaps I mentioned it yesterday that the 4 o'clock weigh-in maybe inhibited him, but at the same time as well as you had the IBF mandatory weigh-in, he could only put on £10 of a divisional limit for that fight, and then he could rehydrate afterwards at 10 a.m. Today. Actually, I don't think it would have mattered anyway. He got wiped out good and clean.
He weighed in a pound and a half under the divisional limit. I mean, I don't think weight was any sort of an issue whatsoever. I mean, maybe he waited to do it so late. But what
it was
the
his
fuck
face,
are you doing
mate.
cutting?
It was his face.
What are you doing cutting off an extra pound and a half then? Who dropped the ball there? I mean, either it had no effect on it or someone in his training camp had faulty skills or something, because if you're struggling, what the fuck are you doing coming in at 166 and a half?
Well, Kessler did the same thing, actually. Seb, me and you spoke about this yesterday, actually, about Kessler coming in roughly about the same way. You were asking me questions about, about some of his opponents coming in roughly about the same weight, etc. I felt Kessler maybe slightly overcooked the weight because he couldn't finish Froch when he hurt him in that 11th round.
Yeah, actually, I was asking you about Groves' usual weight. I was just asking you if he typically came in a couple under like he did.
Yeah, I think
was it
I think I remember he came
was
in
yesterday.
Yeah, I think he came in roughly about the same weight for the first fight, and he came in. I think it was for the Johnson fight. I think he came in roughly about the same weight as well.
Yeah,
and I think he gassed in that fight against Johnson.
Yeah, he did. He suffered a little bit late, but then
he threw a lot of punches, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He did work hard there.
He did have a high output. No, one thing I was going to say before I got off is I didn't notice the house bias quite as much as you guys. I mean, I was listening to Glenn McCrory during the ring walk for Groves, or when it was just about to start, and he was all for Groves, 100%. I mean, he was all over Groves, and I think as well in the first fight, if you listen to, I mean, it's one thing to give a guy credit. And I think George Groves, you have to give him credit in the first fight. If you're calling the fight, if you sat there calling it, you have to be impressed by what George Groves is doing because it's impressive. But it's like Jim Watt, he didn't temper his praise for Groves in the first fight at all. He was loving it. He was lapping it up. He was like, he was loving what Groves was doing. It wasn't like, he's doing a good job, Carl Froch is in trouble. It's like, George Groves is the fucking man. You know what I mean? George Groves we got a new fucking star coming out here. He's making Carl look like a tit. The whole thing, So I don't know about a house bias so much. Do you know what I mean? I mean, maybe a little bit, maybe from a couple of the guys. But I thought Jim's cards are weird anyway. Do you know what I mean? They can be a bit. They can be a bit odd anyway. Jim's cards. So I don't know if his card.
That fight's open to interpretation, I think. I think that it was that close. The rounds were close, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it was a close fight. I mean, the first 4 or 5 rounds, definitely.
Fuck all happened, didn't it? In the first 2 rounds, nothing happened.
That's what you like, isn't it?
Yeah, Seb, I'm imploring mate to go back, watch that fight mute it as well, because I said to my wife as well as, I was pissing myself with, I was just rage because I listened to that Nick Holland, it was like back and forth. I'm like, have you actually watched what I'm watching here? So go back and watch it. I think you'll find a lot closer fight than what you scored it initially.
One thing I was going to say is I do agree with what Tommy said about the I can see what he's saying. I agree with it. There is a potential there that you could, if you were to toss a couple rounds here and there, you could maybe stretch it out to a 5-2 for either guy. I think there's probably some truth in that. If you're sort of like depends what you're favouring, depends what you're into.
It depends what you like. It depends obviously what you like, what you're seeing for each fight.
I think personally, I think you could only score it wide for Froch if you believe that because he commanded centre ring for the duration, almost the duration of that fight, that you could potentially score it that wide.
And I think his hard shots were the more authoritative. I think he was having more effect with his. But the one thing I was going to say is, if I can remember what I was going to say, there was something I was going to say. Hold on.
Left hook for Groves?
No, one that left hook. It's something I was thinking of. I lost it. Carry on. Go on with whatever you were saying.
No, I was just, as I say, I just personally felt as, if you look at the fight, I would probably say if you look at it as, Nick Holland, he should not be allowed to breathe, never mind commentating on a fucking fight. Alex, come on, mate, back me up here. There's no fucking way that motherfucker should be allowed to commentate. Paulie Malignaggi, at times tonight, he was brilliant. I think he needs to be more involved because him and Watt were actually a good parallel for each other.
Sky need to throw a blank check at Ian Dark. I didn't care anything. I liked Ian Dark. I thought he was the man, but maybe I just grew up watching the guy. Ian Dark. He's a tremendous commentator.
I'll tell you what.
What you on, Andy? What you on? What sort are you on, mate?
I'm on Balvenie triple cask, 16 years, mate. £80 bottle.
I had some Jura earlier on, but I'm on the Coors right now.
This is a present from my missus from Norway. It's a fucking beautiful whiskey. Anyway, guys, carry on.
I remember the one thing, that was it. That was the one thing I wanted to say is that regardless of how close you had it, whether you had it 4-3 either way, and I said this before earlier on, but I'll close on it. We had it 4-3 either way, 5-2 either way. One thing is, people said Froch could not box with George Groves, and he did.
I said that, and he did it.
And he had success. He had his say in the boxing.
The jab did get lazy though. It did get lazy though. The jab at one point.
He ain't perfect, is he?
No,
but he's better than people give him credit for.
The left hand was a little higher tonight, though, wasn't it?
It was.
No,
I noticed that. I noticed that in the ring walk. I noticed that in the ring walk.
I noticed,
he started shadow boxing in the ring walk. The left hand was up near his chin. I'm
shadow boxing means
the right hand. Watch the right hand.
That's obviously. But if that's how he's shadow boxing, I'm interpreting that as that's how he's been practicing in the gym. And I'm saying to myself, he's going to go into the ring tonight. He's going to keep his left hand higher, and he did keep his left hand higher.
One thing I noticed during the fight was when Froch, Groves was trying to counter over the right hand. Froch would then bring his own right hand up across the left side of his chin, so he would just slip it across. So that was him obviously trying to parry that shot as it came in. So it was one thing he's been working on. The fact is that Froch was more patient. The way Froch fought tonight was more of practice. The way he approached the Kessler rematch, more patient, more on the jab. He was on it mentally, not physically. Mentally, he was on the game tonight.
You got to give him credit for the adjustments.
Yeah, definitely.
Froch is an excellent fighter, but let's just remember, he's no Calzaghe.
No Calzaghe. No fucking dangerous Calzaghe. Calzaghe, best fighter I've ever seen in my lifetime.
I'm backing
Manny
off.
Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Lennox Lewis, Julio Cesar Chavez, Pernell Whitaker, Roy Jones, Bernard Hopkins, Gerald McClellan, Nigel Bain, Chris Eubank. Not one of them could touch him. Joe Calzaghe's the best of all time. 46-0, 32 knockouts. Nobody, and I mean fucking nobody. Not even The Rock. Not even Stone Cold Steve Austin. Not even the greatest of all time Shawn Michaels can touch him. Sweet chin music. Bounce on Joe's chin. Bounce right on Joe's fucking chin.
How many lines has Tommy had?
Tommy, ching me. I need some of that MCAT, mate.
Mate, I could come here now, but I can't be fucked.
I'll pay your taxi here, mate, if you want.
Sir Joe, that's what I'm going to say.
Seb, mate, listen, it's always been a pleasure, mate. We'll see you on the forum. Hopefully we'll get you back on tomorrow to discuss undercard and the card from Macau, China as well, mate.
Alright, cheers very much. Have a good one.
All the best, mate.
Take it easy, guys.
Cheers, mate. Right. I believe we're going to get a guy called Tim on the line shortly. Kurt, is he coming on, mate? Is this our last caller, yeah?
Hey guys, I actually got a bail. I got to go get some dinner in me and stuff like that.
No, you've got to go and fucking lick that wife's pussy out. That's what you got to go and do.
Well, I got to go have some dinner. I ain't had shit since a burrito this morning, but I loved it, guys. Long live Carl Cobra Froch. Loved it, and long live the Nut House. It was great being with you guys again.
Cheers, mate. I believe we've got Tim Rhodes on the line. Are you there, Tim? Tim, you there? Don't duck me, mate. Come on. Be a man. Be like Carl Froch. Step up.
Tim Stevenson.
Tim Stevenson. Tim Rhodes on his Skype here.
He's doing an Adonis.
He's doing an Andrew Ward. He's going into hibernation. Come on, Timbo.
Tim Rhodes is a piece of shit.
Here's a question. What did we think? There was a lot of bollocks about the judges and the ref beforehand. How do we rate their performance tonight?
What was the scorecards?
That's what I was just about to ask, actually. How did the judges have
Probably find out.
Let me see if I can find anything on Facebook. Hang on. Nothing is there yet. No, nothing's there. Nothing's on Bolshrek either. I've not got nothing up yet. Is Tim there yet, no? Tim, you there?
He's saying in the chat that it's not working or something.
Come on, Tim.
Try and add him again. He just has to click join call.
Join call, mate. Just click join call. Come on. Doesn't matter if you're pissed.
He says he's in the call, but is he muted or?
Unmute your call. Oh, Timmy boy, the pipes are calling you. Nah. He's not
Kick
gonna
him
do
and
it.
then re-invite or something. I don't know.
Right, I'm going to give you a Terry O'Connor count. I ain't going to give you one. I'm just going to fucking dump you off.
Yeah, get rid of him
Right,
and I'll
hang
try
on.
and add him again.
Right, I've removed him.
Tim's George Groves. He's just out. He needs to put on the stall.
Just with some oxygen. Right, re-add them. Oh, I need some more of that whiskey. It's fucking beautiful stuff, that.
Got anyone else to call in as well?
Aye.
I think it's going to be a long show. We've got tomorrow's show as well.
Yeah, it was just
good stuff.
just to let our listeners know, tomorrow after the Bellew of the Week segment, we've got a interview with that me, Kurt, Alex, and Tommy did with Alex Morris, fucking Shannon the Cannon Briggs, former WBO heavyweight champion of the world. Tim, you there? Timbo Slice, come on, mate.
Nah.
He's ducking the.
Tim needs a premiership.
Anyways, guys, listen, it's almost 1:30 in the morning. I'm a wee bit kind of piped up still. I'm maybe going to watch a fight again. I really don't know. Just to let our listeners know, tomorrow we'll be doing our usual show, 8:30. We'll be discussing undercard, the card from Macau, China, and hopefully I can get a hold of the fight, the card from Mexico, Rungiveze against Kudras. I'd like to thank Matty D for coming on shortly, Kurt Ward, Alex Morris, Big Boss Man, Tommy Allen, and for everyone else who listened in, and for those that called in as well. We'll see you tomorrow at the usual time, 8:30. All the best, God bless, and see you tomorrow.